Good morning, everyone. Today, I am going to present our group research entitled Instructional Leadership Practices in Under-Enrolled Rural Schools in Miri, Sarawak. Our group members are Dr. Andy Fred, Mr. Lee Hong Seng, and Ms. Cindy Yi Shan. We are from SK Sungai BIAR. This is the overview of the presentation. First, I will give an introduction, which include the problem statement, research question, and a conceptual framework of the research. Second, the literature review of the study. Third, methodology used in this research. Fourth, the result. Fifth, discussion, and the last one will be the conclusion. Let us start. Our education and learning structure had been tuned to the constant changes in education as well as digital and technological needs. These changes has led to a great challenge to the school leaders, teachers, and students. In terms of school leaders and administrators, they are the spearheading changes. Their roles are becoming more complex and challenging throughout the years. In order to achieve developed nation status, the plan and aim are stipulated in the National Transformation TN50 as well as the National Education System. Hence, instructional practice are needed to improve academic achievement among the students. Now I will move to the problem statement of the study. In Malaysia, there are many schools with low enrollment, especially in Sarawak and Sabah. They have poor performance and achievement in terms of academic. Hence, it is imperative to improve the academic performance of the schools and students. Furthermore, the instructional leadership practices of this school have yet to be fully ascertained and assessed. There are three research questions. 1. What is the perception level of teachers towards the instructional leadership practices of the headmaster in under-enrolled rural primary schools based on the 10 functions of instructional leadership? Is there any significant difference in perception between male and female teachers of under-enrolled rural schools regarding their headmaster instructional leadership practices? 3. What are the challenges and issues faced by the headmaster of under-enrolled rural schools in practicing their role as instructional leaders in their school? This is the conceptual framework of the study. So, in phase 1, there are 3 dimensions for the instructional leadership practices and roles of headmaster. Phase 2, there are functions which describe each dimension. And lastly, phase 3 outcome is the students' academic achievement and improvement in schools' learning environment and teaching strategies. Now I will move on to the literature review. According to Coyle and Green in 2011, instructional leadership has a positive impact on student achievement since the headmaster has immense influence over teachers, curriculum, teaching techniques, and students. In the past literature, it usually links school effectiveness with the practice of school leaders who practice instructional leadership, thereby improving the outcome of students' academic achievement. It also links instructional leadership practices with excellence and effectiveness of schooling, student achievement, and increased students' achievement in certain subjects. The study are either carried out qualitative or quantitative, which put the focus on the principals as instructional leaders to see their relationship with students' academic achievement, and focus has been on schools in the urban areas. Thus, there is a need for a study to gauge the instructional practice of headmasters serving in under-enrolled rural schools in Sarawak based on the teacher's perception, which is rare. Now, I will move on to the methodology used in the research. A mixed method research design is used, mixing both quantitative and qualitative research. The target population consists of school teachers and headmasters serving in under-enrolled schools in the district of Miri, Sarawak. There are two methods of data collection, the survey method and interviews. So, now I will move on to the result of the research. For research question 1, which is what is the perception level of teachers towards the instructional leadership practices of headmaster in under-enrolled rural school based on the 10 functions of instructional leadership? Teachers perceive their headmaster instructional leadership practices function in all the 10 functions at medium high. Communicating the school goals was the highest mean score. Framing the school goals was second highest mean score. Providing incentive for teachers was the lowest mean score. This is the table that the mean interpretation shows the mean interpretation of teachers' level of perception of headmaster instructional leadership practices in the 10 functions. In terms of dimension, defining the school mission is the most dominant dimension. Managing the school instructional program was the second most dominant dimension. And developing the school learning climate was the lowest dominant dimension. This is the table shows the most dominant dimension of instructional leadership practices of headmasters in under-enrolled rural primary school from teachers' perception. For research question 2, is there any significant difference in perception between male and female teachers of under-enrolled rural schools regarding their headmaster instructional leadership practices? To answer the question, independent t-test and an alpha level of 0.5 was set for the analysis. The independent t-test and the Levin test output show that the degree of freedom is at 122. The group means are statistically significantly different because of the value in the significant to-tail row is less than 0.05. The t-value is 2.963 while the p equal to 0.004, p less than 0.05, which indicate a significant difference between male and female teachers in perception regarding their headmaster instructional leadership role. The null hypothesis is rejected while the alternative hypothesis is accepted. T-test analysis showed that there is a significant difference in perception of male and female teachers serving in under-enrolled rural schools of Sarawak on their headmasters' instructional leadership practices. So this is the table showing independent sample t-test for significant difference between genders. To answer research question 3, what are the challenges and issues faced by the under-enrolled rural primary school headmaster in practicing their role as instructional leader in their school? Interview is carried out. So there are 6 challenges that the headmaster face. The first one, the school is neglected in terms of basic access. As you can see, in the headmaster responded that their school is lack of standard and conducive classroom and facilities. Second, the parents' low involvement in school activities and students' attendance. In these under-enrolled rural primary schools, it is difficult for the parents to come and help or to get involved in the school's program. They just leave everything to the school to do. The third challenge is the lack of financial resources. The allocation is based on the school enrollment. So, in the under-enrolled rural primary schools, the allocation is very small. Hence, the school is run on a very small budget. They have problem with funding in organizing more meaningful educational activities for the students. The fourth challenge is the mismatched teaching staff. Under-enrolled rural primary schools are lack of teachers, especially teachers to teach critical subjects such as math, science, and English. Moreover, they lose well-experienced teachers every few years, and their replacement usually doesn't match the school requirement. The fifth challenge, overwhelming workload shouldered by the headmaster. The overwhelming workload causes the headmaster do not have time to make quality observation with the teachers about their teaching. They are difficult to find the time to supervise classroom activities. Last challenge is the digital communication accessibility and utility supplies. So electricity is the major problems for most of the under-enrolled rural primary schools, and they are hoping for a reliable internet connection to ease the burden of teachers in their teaching and learning. Now I will move on to the discussion. Most of the teachers perceive their headmaster do perform or practice their instructional roles. And there is a significant differences in perception of headmaster instructional practice between male and female teachers. And it is important that we noted that headmasters were confronted with issues and were struggling to perform their instructional practices. The teacher perceived their headmaster instructional leadership practice in terms of managing the school instruction program as medium-high. And this is why some of the instructional program in the schools were not as successful as it should be. And the teacher's perception of their headmaster role in developing the school learning climate is also in the medium-high category. And framing the school goals and communicating the school goal. In the dimension of defining the school dimension is the most dominant dimension. And the role of headmasters are huge because they have expectations from parents, district education officers, and the ministry for them to deliver. Their role is also to elevate teachers' instructional skills to manage the whole affairs associated with pupils and stakeholders who are also integral part of the school community. And headmaster lamented about their workload in their professional duties and had restricted them in instructional leaders' function. The poor accessibility to utilities such as internet and other facilities had limited the access to potential resources. The financial allocation of under-enrolled schools is based on school enrollment, and this financial allocation is inadequate for the schools to carry out activity for the students. And the right teachers that matches the need of the school is essential to improve the students' education. So, to conclude, under-enrolled schools represent a large portion of our educational landscape. It's always represent with the rural and small populations. However, the under-enrolled schools will always provide the opportunity of education and access to literacy for children. And the study has given a basis to make a conclusion about the level of headmasters' instructional leadership practices as perceived by the teachers. This study has added on to the contribution of new information towards increasing the knowledge of instructional leadership practices of under-enrolled rural schools. There is an emphasis to headmaster to practice instructional leadership and skills in under-enrolled rural primary schools in Sarawak. With the challenges faced by the under-enrolled rural schools, it will be difficult for the schools and their students to progress academically if the issues of basic facilities and infrastructure are not built immediately. Education achievement of under-enrolled rural schools is still lagging in many aspects compared to the mainstream schools. Its existence has led to an increase in the level of literacy and numeracy, especially among children in the rural areas. School headmasters do practice instructional leadership, while at the same time, various human and physical aspects has made it difficult for them to perform it more frequently. So that's all for the presentation. Thank you.